75% of the pumpkins were made with that recycled glass.
The evening will also feature a silent auction, glass blowing demonstrations, and light refreshments. All proceeds from the event will support Water Street Glassworks programming. The event will be held at 140 Water Street in the Benton Harbor Arts District. All right, it's 7:11. It is the WSJM Morning Show. That's a look at news. We do have sports coming up with Dave Wolf in just a moment. Also, the Always Learning with Barry and Risa interview. That's coming up in a couple of minutes. And we will start our interview on the video live stream right now on Facebook and YouTube. That is coming up in just a moment. We've got Dan McCrery in from Tosi's restaurant. Many of you've been there already. You know what Tosi's is, but you may not know the backstory. And there's a lot of backstory because it's 85 years plus worth of backstory. We're going to start exploring that right now on the video live stream. So just go to Facebook and YouTube and look for WSJM. And we've got the live video happening right there, right now on here, WSJM.
In Major League Baseball, Kerry Carpenter, Matt Shakur.
And good morning and welcome to the video live stream for WSJM, our morning show. It's 7:12 on Thursday, the 12th of September. How are you doing?
I'm wonderful. How are you doing this morning?
I'm doing very well, thank you. Dan McCrery is here. He is the proprietor and general manager of Tosi's. And how long have you had that role?
Well, I'll just start where I started. 1989, started out as a dishwasher.
Okay.
And shortly after that was a busser, a bar back. I turned 18, and then bartender.
Yeah.
One of the very first male servers there.
You were, okay.
I was, yes. Right. And then throughout time, I always say I got demoted to the front desk.
Oh, no.
And I enjoyed what I did, but and eventually in 2008, I became the general manager. And then 2018, my wife's been there longer than I have. She's been there 38 years, and she has done every role in that restaurant. I mean, from accounts payable to, bussing to dishwasher, everything.
Huh.
And she's worked every station in the kitchen. So she is definitely the boss. But at any rate, so as we attempted to talk to Miss Marge, my mother-in-law, who owned it at the time.
Okay.
And none of the other kids were heavily involved. So we decided, well, it's either time to sell it or it's time to move on.
Wow.
So she was very adamant about selling. So we struck up the deal and went on to the next generation. So
well, let's take a couple steps back. I want to learn more about you and your decision to get involved in the family business. But Tosi's is intergenerational. How many generations have had Tosi's so far?
I myself, when I started there in 1989, my great aunt was there. She did all the laundry for the kitchen staff.
Okay.
And her daughter, Marge Jeffries. I don't know if names are prevalent or not, but Marge Jeffries, her daughter was there for over 50 years of service.
Wow.
And then she has two daughters that were the salads. They did salads there, Gail and Sherry. And Sherry's still around. Unfortunately, everybody else is gone.
Huh.
But there was 4 generations right there. And now my children are there. So my daughter's making the house-made pasta. And my son's the bartender. And then my youngest son, he just graduated from high school this last year. So, and he's wants to be in the business, which we tell them all to go away for a little while and then come back. But they all want to be there for the right reasons. And when they've got it with their heart, I guess that's a great start to go. So, but my wife, on the other hand, she's been there literally since the womb.
Okay.
Because my mother-in-law was there since the 60s, and she was born in the 70s. And she has been there literally, her and her twin sister had been there since
up
birth.
in the restaurant.
Yeah, in the restaurant business. So Dad would have to work at the other place. He worked at Hughes Plastics, and sure enough, Mom would work there as a server. So they have the high chairs there in the corner and eating the bread and all that good stuff, and grew right up there in the restaurant industry. So she's been there her whole life.
That is amazing. What did you ever think that you would be involved in the restaurant business your entire life?
Not at all. In high school, I had a great English teacher that made us write our 10-year note to ourselves about what we would do. And sure enough, that showed up. And I was supposed to be building houses and being a carpenter. But for whatever and however, whatever. And we'll talk about that a little bit later, but we're all artists at what we do.
Yeah.
And when you find out what it is, and sitting here watching you and talk this morning on this, I'll tell you what, I give you kudos. I have no idea, it's
just like a giant smartphone. That's all it is.
I don't know about all that. There's a lot of talent that goes in it. So,
oh goodness gracious, no, thank you. And really, it's a business that just kept bringing me back. I mean, in restaurants too. I mean, that's one of the things that I have enjoyed. And I, as I mentioned, I started as a dishwasher as well.
Sure.
And you see what happens behind the scenes, and there's a ton of work. It's not just, hey, somebody did an order for chicken fettuccine or something like that, and then all of a sudden, okay, let's make it. No, there's a ton of prep work that goes into it, and then after the doors close,
right,
you have a ton of
so
work.
There's a lot of before and afters. Like I said, there's a lot of folks that come in and it's, oh, you must get here about 3:00, and it's like, no, it's I make phone calls. I start getting phone calls and texts usually between 7 and 7:30. Whether it's the linen company or
in the morning.
Okay. Oh yeah, in the morning.
And you don't open your doors until
right. We don't open our doors until 4:30, and then 5:00 starts seating. But there's a lot of prep that goes into it. A lot of people may or may not understand if you've never been in the business, which is fine. Hopefully, I always had a good friend of ours that insured us for many years, and he said, Dan, we'd meet at 10 in the morning and discuss business, and how we were going to get things done with whatever. And he says, this is where it's really tough for you, isn't it? Because you're doing all these other things before the day. And he says, but I've been here when you open the doors. And he said, that's not work to you at all, is it? And I'm like, no. When the doors open, you're on stage.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And it's just a flow.
Yeah.
And I hope that's what it seems like to the patrons when they walk through the door.
Yeah. I mean, it typically is. I mean, for people who are going out, it's a treat. It's a special occasion. Right. It's a meal that you don't have to prepare and they don't have to clean up after. And it's that flavor, that taste that you want. Walk us through the history of Tosi's. When did it begin? When did it become a restaurant? Because it began as a resort before that.
Let's get started with this. In 1938, Emil Tosi and his parents bought that property, 10 acres, from the House of David for $2,000.
$2,000?
Well, you got to realize, coming away, the Great Depression, all that other good stuff was a lot of money.
Yeah,
it's still a lot of money personally, but at any rate. 1939, they opened up as the resort. They had 8 cabins in the back or for lodging, and they would they'd rent them out, and then they'd get the 3 meals a day. They'd get breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And of course, the beach, Glenlord Beach was right there, and it was a lot more prevalent than what it is now. The lookout point is beautiful, but even as a kid, I used to get down there for the beach. But in 1948, I think sitting with Emil Tosi and talking with him, the 11 years that I got to know him, what a character. But at any rate, he said in 1948, Danny, he says, I added on the 2 rooms, the one in the back with the cypress room there. And he said, then I put on the Florentine grill room there with the mural of Florence that we've got down there. But he said, so many people knocking at the back door wanting food. He said, 48, I opened up as a restaurant, he says, and feeding the resort people and feeding, and he said, from there on out, it just grew. In 1965, he says, I added on the 2 big rooms up on the upper level, the Cortina and the Tuscany room, and doubled the size of the restaurant. And I got to tell you, thank God he stopped there. It's a big place. A lot of people don't realize until you come in. I mean, we've got over 10,000 square feet of dining almost.
Do you really?
Yeah. I mean, it's a big restaurant.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we house about 300 people, just under. In the summertime, a lot more because we seat on the outside now. So the exterior has been our big friend in the summertime, especially since COVID.
Okay.
So our screened in veranda and our garden, our Italian garden out front. I mean, it's tough to beat. The 12 tables out there and the 8 on the screened in veranda. But Emil Tosi, he did it right. I tell you, and he went big and he went all the way, and he was a great man. But there's a lot of people that push this narrative of Tosi's. He was there for 34 years.
Yeah. I've
been there for 35.
Okay.
My mother-in-law there for 50. The Berghoffs, they bought the restaurant from Emil Tosi in the 70s. There's just a lot of different things that went on and through, but I think the biggest thing is this last summer we had Emil Tosi's great grandson work for us.
Really?
And I watched the kid grow up, and he's a great young man. And Yvonne Tosi is Yvonne Wallstein is the daughter of Emil Tosi, and she's still around. And I won't reveal her age, but she is Sophia Loren.
We're gonna get in trouble.
I'm telling you, I'm gonna be in big trouble.
Okay.
But she still is around, and she comes in, and she with her grandson there, and the great grandson of Emil Tosi. I tell you what, there was a spark of love this last summer with that. I thought it was just a really neat tribute to the restaurant, and he did us proud. He really did. But
what'd you have him doing?
He was the server.
Okay.
He was a server.
All right.
And
did people know? Did he ever let him?
He would not tell people, and which was great, honestly. And then I told people, and they're like, you could tell there was charisma. But I got to be honest with you, everybody that we hire, and anybody that we can try to get in, we have people with heart. And that's the people that we try to look for, is the people with heart. They want to do it from their soul. Yeah. They want to do it because they love to do it. And we've been so blessed, honest to goodness, with just some great people from front to back. I had to yell at dishwashers not long ago. I got some people, some great. I have no problem telling you that Charlie Racine from Grand Mirror and I are great friends. Okay. And we will text back and forth. And Charlie gets back and forth with me about dishwashers. He's needing help, and can I help him? And I had to yell at dishwashers not long ago.
So you had to yell. I thought you said
yell.
that.
I had to sit down and talk with him, not yell. I thank you for bringing that up. But, I had to talk to him to say, hey, listen, they come in early all the time. Oh. I got most people are saying I can't get dishwashers to show up. Mine are coming in early.
Why are they coming in early?
Says, there's always stuff to do.
All right.
But they are just that conscientious about doing the job and doing it right.
Nice.
And like I said, it's a blessing. It's like, how do you get them in there? I mean, it's crazy, but it starts from the ground up everywhere you go. I mean, but our business we've been so fortunate to have the staff we have.
Yeah. Yeah. So so Tosi started out.
Sorry, you keep saying that.
No. As a resort, and it turned into a restaurant. When it started as a resort, it was surrounded by other resorts.
Correct. Yeah.
And other restaurants?
Well, I don't know about the restaurant parts, but I know resorts. There was a lot of prevalent resorts around there, and I want to say there was 4 or 5 different Italian resorts.
Yes.
And that was for the folks to get away from the big city back in the day. Of course, when they had 17 cars on the road, and they would come to the countryside and they would spend a month at the resort.
Yeah. Are there still remnants of the resort around there?
Well, you
cabins
have
or anything?
Chalet on the lake. Okay. Those have been there for a long time.
But that wasn't part of Tosi's.
That was not a part of Tosi's, but there's still people that it's just so funny because they're still renting and still coming to Tosi's for traditions and generations of it, which is amazing. But we have one existing cabin in the back of the restaurant that was still part of the original 1939 resort.
What do you use it for?
So the Bit of Swiss uses that. Okay. They house one of the gentlemen that comes. They do a program with the Bit of Swiss where they bring in various bread bakers and various bakers. Okay. But this gentleman that's been over there, he's been there for 7 years, I believe. And he works for the Bit of Swiss, and a nice guy. But that's where he lives.
No kidding. Yeah. So it's still a residence.
He has a residence there where he works. It's kind of I'm leaving the restaurant at dark 30, and he's just going into work. So a lot of times we'll cross
time to make the donuts or bread or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh man, we're talking with Dan McCrery. He's the general manager and proprietor of Tosi's Restaurant, which is celebrating 85 years this year. And so we'll come back in just a couple of moments and talk a little bit more with him about some of the other things that we've heard about Tosi's that we want to confirm. We want true or false.
Uh-oh.
And then if you have any trivia that you can give us about Tosi's as well, like the you didn't knows. Let me give you a sample. True or false? Tosi's once appeared in Time magazine.
It did.
True.
It's true.
How so?
1966 Time magazine rated Tosi's one of the top 25 restaurants to dine in the United States.
Whoa.
Yeah. So
how in the world did something in Southwest Michigan get on the radar of Time magazine?
Yeah,
that is so cool.
It's something else. But, of course, times have changed. There's a lot more people and there's a ton more restaurants. So, and it's real big now. You know what I mean?
And it's amazing the rooms you talk about there, because you walk into Tosi's, there's dining over here in the garden area, there's dining over here in this area, there's dining back here, there's the bar area where you can get a booth, and there's the private room over there. There's probably a bunch of stuff we haven't even seen. But we'll talk about that coming up. Okay. All right. It's the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg. You can watch the full interview of this on our video live stream on YouTube and Facebook, and we'll be back to continue this exclusive content in just a moment.
Well, when the Neon Grill wanted to take down the classic Chevy from their roof for restoration, they called Hassey's Towing and Crane Service. They trusted Hassey's to handle it. Hassey's Towing and Crane Service has the area's largest fleet of tow vehicles and cranes to accomplish almost any lifting job. Got a unique tow or lift job? Call Hassey's Towing and Crane Service, 927-3681. Hassey's Towing, the trucks with the red, white, and blue.
The Bloomberg Business Minute on WSJM is brought to you by Sturgis Bank and Trust. Let's grow together. Serving Berrien Branch, Kalamazoo, St. Joseph, and Van Buren counties. Now with 2 new locations in St. Joseph, downtown, and on Cleveland Avenue. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Boeing faces a potential strike by some 33,000 unionized workers who are voting today on a new contract and whether to walk out. Depending on the outcomes, Boeing could be facing a strike early tomorrow morning as the current contract expires at midnight. New Boeing CEO Kelly Ortberg urged members of the company's largest union not to strike, cautioning that a walkout would jeopardize Boeing's recovery after years of turmoil. Thinking of using a retail credit card to finance your holiday spending? If so, paying it off right away can save you a lot of money. Bankrate says interest rates on retail cards are at a record high, with the average store-only card charging almost 32%. The average co-branded credit card rate is at 29%. For a while there yesterday, it looked like an ugly session was shaping up on Wall Street after core consumer inflation came in hotter than expected. But stocks turned around and finished higher across the board, with chip makers leading the way. And the NASDAQ was the standout performer. Gina Cervetti, Bloomberg Radio.
The Morning Show with Ken and Friends on 94.9 WSJM.
7:29, and we've got more news coming from ABC News in just a moment. We'll check in on local news from our WSJM newsroom. It's currently 59 degrees, and it's going to be a mostly sunny start to the day. Some clouds moving through. St. Joseph has 60 degrees. In Dowagiac right now, it's 57. The weather forecast for today does call for hot. It's going to get mostly sunny again, high around 87 degrees. Be careful out there because there's that weird smoke filter that doesn't make it seem like it's as sunny as it is, but it can burn you fast. I was looking in the mirror this morning right after my shower, and I'm sunburned around this area. And I was out for like 15 minutes walking the dog.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
It doesn't take long. So anyway, so there's smoke in the air. So if you're sensitive to that kind of thing, do be aware that is a thing that's happening right now. And also, we're continuing our interview on the video live stream with Dan McCrery. He's the proprietor and general manager of Tosi's. And we've been having a lot of fun talking on the video live stream about some of the things about Tosi's, the history, his roles at Tosi's, and we're about to get into some. We did a true or false a second ago about Time Magazine, whether or not Tosi's has been in Time Magazine, and the answer to that is true.
True.
1966.
1966, yeah.
Back when Time Magazine was essentially the Bible.
Yeah, exactly.
For anyone looking for news to believe in, and Tosi's was there, featured as one of the top restaurants in the United States to go to. That's a pretty big honor.
Yeah, it is a big honor. It's a big shoes to fill is what it is.
Yeah, for sure. And so we'll have some more trivia about Tosi's. We'll talk a little bit more. We'll talk about what the industry, the hospitality industry, has been like in the last few years. There was this thing called the COVID pandemic.
Yeah.
Which we'd like some insights from you on that. Some of the things that are rolling through the state legislature right now, too, if you want to talk about those things.
Indeed, I do.
Okay. And so we'll talk about those things and more in just a few minutes, and also get the latest from ABC ABC News. That's happening right now. Sports from Dave Wolf as well.
WSJM News Now. Team coverage from the WSJM Newsroom on News Talk Sports 94.9 WSJM.
Some of the news that we're following in the WSJM Newsroom this morning. Outgoing Berrien County Drain Commissioner Christopher Quatrin might be leaving office soon, but that's not stopping him from starting some new projects. Speaking to the Lincoln Township Board of Trustees this week, Commissioner Quatrin said the Williamson Drain near Cleveland Avenue and Lincoln Road has been overwhelmed recently by large rains. He says it's causing flooding on property owned by Barbett Farms, and farm owner Andy Barbett showed trustees some photos of the flooding from the past couple of years. They say the water affects Cleveland Avenue, sometimes preventing school buses from getting through. So we'll talk a little bit more about that project and the price tag of that. Spoiler alert, it's upwards of $1 million. We'll talk about that coming up at 8 o'clock this morning. An effort to reduce erosion that's happening right now at Hager Park in Hager Township is underway. The township has voted to hire a consultant to come up with some solutions on how they can stop that piece of erosion from happening at the park. We'll talk about that at 8. And then if you happen to drive by the South Bend International Airport today, you might see a lot of emergency vehicles, some fire, a lot of people running around looking like they're injured. It's just a drill. They're going to hold a drill later on this afternoon and into the evening to make sure that they're prepared for emergency stuff. But we'll tell you a little bit about the behind the scenes that's happening there. That's some of the news that we're following from the WSJM Newsroom. We have more coming up in just a few minutes. National news from ABC, Michigan News Network, and then our sports from Dave Wolf coming up in a few minutes.
The Michigan News Network.
I'm Ryan Rack.
All right, and we're back on the video live stream for a couple of minutes here before we get back to the terrestrial radio. All right, let's talk a little bit about ghosts. We'll save the COVID. We'll save the state law stuff that's going on. But are there ghosts at Tosi's?
There are ghosts at Tosi's. They're all good ghosts, though.
Okay, all right, good.
Grandma Tosi is there.
Okay. How do you know?
Yeah.
Give us the stories. Come on.
It really doesn't much
No
matter.
filter, no censor.
Any night, it's kind of crazy. My wife and I were sitting one night. This is a couple years ago, but I mean, it happens a lot. And we were talking, and then just something right off the shelf just flies off.
You're kidding?
No.
Oh.
And every once in a while, we got those lights that are behind the bar area, in the cypress room there, where the food comes out and stuff. Yeah. They're hanging and dangling. And from time to time, we'll sit there, be talking, and all of a sudden that light will just start swinging like a tire swing.
Wow.
Yeah, it is. It's
so just friendly little reminders that we're watching.
So they say it's Grandma Tosi, but I know my brother. That's the one person I haven't talked about is my brother. I've got one brother. That's it, and one sibling, and he's our executive chef, and he's been there for 28 years.
Okay.
And he started there just like everybody else, right there from the ground, and worked his way up. So from the salad area to making pasta to being the man in charge. So, but we had a great young lady. Well, I say young, she was 60 when she passed, but Jeanette.
That is young. Yeah.
All day long. I get it. Jeanette was there for 40 years.
Wow.
And my brother and I spotted her on camera. We got cameras just like most restaurants do. She was on camera, and my brother actually saved it on his phone. It's
after she had passed.
Oh yeah, after she had passed. It's kind of eerie, but
yeah, that just put a chill down my spine.
But it was kind of like one of those things, like I'm still here. Yeah. You're doing it right. Every once in a while, I feel this on the back of my head, going, "Oh yeah, that was."
What is it you're doing when you get slapped on the back of your head?
Doing something I probably shouldn't be doing.
That's funny.
Probably telling a joke that should not have been told, or.
Yeah.
So
that's interesting. So stuff flies off the shelf from time to time.
Yeah.
Do guests ever have the experience?
Guests have never had, not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But people have asked me before, and they said that they feel a presence of something there, but nothing bad.
Yeah.
Just something that there is an entity there. We did have about 2 years ago, we had there was a YouTuber group that came through and did a ghost adventure type thing through there, and I think that is on YouTube somewhere. I'm sure if you YouTube Tosi's Ghost, it's on there.
Yeah.
But and they did find some little findings of stuff, and it was all of us. I was down in the wine cellar. It was dark and talking, and didn't really see too much or hear too much. But they did get some activity. So
what's the wine cellar like there?
It's my favorite part. No, not really, but back in the day, I started the wine program. I took over probably 28, 29 years ago, and I'm looking to hand that off to my son this next couple of years. So
Okay.
he's doing a great job. He's already taken over the liquor part and the beer part, so which has been great. And it needs a new, fresh perspective, honestly.
Okay.
But the wine part, it's a lot to take in, but the really great thing that I feel the state of Michigan did was that they let us do a cork fee. So let's say that you and your significant other are coming out, and you want to have a nice bottle of wine that maybe you bought on an anniversary trip or whatever. You get to bring that in.
Yeah.
And for $15, we open it.
Okay.
Well, I don't have to inventory it. I didn't have to buy it.
Yeah.
My server, they get to pour it for you, whatever. But I feel that's that, and the fact that if you don't drink a bottle of wine all the way, we get to cork that thing, we get to tape it up in a bag, and you get to take it home.
Yeah.
So I think that those are two things that the state did great, honestly. But the wine cellar's cool.
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is it shrunk.
Okay.
So, we used to carry about 225 bottles of wine, and I think we're down to about 130.
Why the reduction?
Well, it all started during COVID.
Okay. Let's talk about COVID.
Yeah, we'll talk about
Yeah.
I hate talking about it, but we'll talk about it because we'll get to that when we do. But during COVID, we didn't know if we're going to reopen. At that point in time, when you're closed 26 weeks.
Yeah.
So what we did was we sold out our wine cellar, a lot of it.
Wow.
Well, because of the fact of, it's a $60 bottle of wine. We're sitting on it. Why are we sitting on it? Well, we bought it for this. Let's sell it for this. And, that's honest to goodness between our community and our staff and just trying to think ahead of the game. That's what got us past the COVID deal. But getting rid of the wine cellar was one of those things that we did. And, it's easy to restock, which we did, once we got the okay to open back up, thank goodness.
I hope that wasn't one of the times that you got smacked on the back of the head by the. Okay, good.
No,
good.
No.
Hang on. Let's talk a little bit more about COVID, but just a moment. Let's go back to the radio here in just a second. All right. All right. Absolutely. Be right back.
2007, I've dedicated myself to providing our community with the highest quality automotive service. Visit Autobahn Imports today and experience the difference dedication makes.
Mostly sunny skies today. Light winds will give us a very comfortable day. The winds will be out of the east. High temperatures today inland at 87, slightly cooler, a few degrees cooler in the low 80s along the lake shore. Tonight will become mostly cloudy. We'll stay in the low 60s and lots of clouds for Friday with high temperatures around 80. I'm Chief Meteorologist Carrie Peugeot.
The Morning Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
It's the WSJM Morning Show. I'm Ken Lundberg, and my guest this morning, Dan McCrery, proprietor, general manager, and ghost sleuther at Tosi's. Only friendly ghosts, though.
Friendly ghosts. It's
Only
like Casper.
Yeah, it's like Casper the friendly ghost. No, we're having a good discussion this morning, and you're here in part because you're celebrating 85 years at Tosi's this year. You're also here to talk a little bit about the hospitality industry. And before we get to that, though, let's check in on our video live stream. A lot of folks with comments. Bernice says, "So good to see you, Dan. I look forward to working with you in December with the Salvation Army Christmas party for the children, the children.
I've been doing that for many years.
One of the great things that you do. Let's see, Bernice also heard about the ghosts in the past. Teresa Yore, one of our longtime listeners, she says, I hated COVID. We did too.
That wasn't a friend.
Yeah. And let's see, somebody else. Let's see. There's a group. Oh, I think that's Mike Weibel. I think he's asking, isn't there an upstairs to Tosi's? And yes, there is.
Yes, there is. Emil Tosi lived up there. Emil Tosi was an avid hunter.
Okay.
When you go into the bar, there are 3 deer head up there. And I know some people, it freaks them out. Some people, whatever. Whatever.
Yeah.
But I'll give you a story on that, because when we had our hardwood floors were finished many, many years ago already. They said, well, you got to take everything off the walls. It's going to get dusty, yada, yada, yada.
Yeah.
I could not get them deer head off. I think the back ends of them are on the other side of the wall. But those deer head back in the day, for those that are hunters, I'm a hunter myself, but they have a metal tag on that antler.
Okay.
And they are tagged 1948, 1949, and 1952. So they've been up there for a long time, and those were shot from Grand Mirror State Park.
You're kidding.
So yeah, he was, like I said, an avid hunter. But the upstairs, Tosi lived up there in the late 40s and the early 50s. You know, back, you got to realize there was no alarm company back in the 40s and the 50s.
Sure.
It was a shotgun.
Yeah.
And like
right by the bedside there.
That's where the avid hunter was.
Okay.
And of course, you know, living upstairs had its privileges too. You know, I mean, there are some nights I wish I could just walk upstairs and fall asleep.
Yeah.
Because quite honestly, the next day you're up there and you've had those days. We've all had them that, you know, you're literally at home for 6 hours and you go back to work and it's like, why'd I even leave?
Describe the hospitality industry from Tosi's perspective during COVID.
Well, I have to tell you, hospitality in general is, hospitality to me as a gift. Okay. Let me just explain a couple things, but hospitality is not just in the restaurant industry either. A lot of people, you know, hospitality, but you know, it's at the Home Depot, it's at the Lowe's, it's those people that you're walking through. Can I help you with something? Or, you know, not too long ago, my wife and I had to buy something at one of the places here, and the gentleman was helping out 3 different people. And he said, I will be right with you.
Yeah.
As soon as I'm done with these folks here, I've got to get, you know,
yeah.
Thank you. All I need is a little bit of communication. Communication is a big part of hospitality.
Yes.
So, but hospitality during the COVID, is that what your question was?
Yes.
During COVID, you have to realize 2019, my wife and I, after 30 years of working there, bought the restaurant. 2020 happens, and you're trying to, as an owner, you're trying to put out your own mark on the restaurant because,
Absolutely.
you know, I mean, what you stand for. And, you know, there's been 5 owners and each of them have brought something different to the table.
Yeah.
Well, 2020 happens, COVID, and I believe in miracles all day long. Our first grandchild was born March 10th of 2020. And we brought, you know, getting everybody home and getting them out of the hospital was kind of a chore because that's when everything started shutting down.
That's
and my
right.
daughter says, you better get me out of here.
Yeah.
I said, I want to get home. Well, luckily enough, I've got a monk outfit upstairs. I could probably, you know, dress up. I could, you know, I go in as one of the parish, I guess. Please forgive me for saying it. You said there's no filters, but
oh my goodness.
At any rate, you know, I mean, you do what you got to do to be with your family. But and then March 16th is when we got the news to get shut down. And my wife, my brother, and I were the only ones at the restaurant that morning. And we said, what are we going to do? And my wife, being the smart person that she is, of course, I married way up. And she says, we need to take a week and we need to process this. And we need to figure this out just like everybody else, you know. And at that point in time, we grabbed a lot of stuff out of the fridge because a lot of stuff that's not going to last for a week. You know, everything we do it's handmade, it's fresh, it's right there. So we started putting boxes together and we delivered a ton of food to our staff because there's a lot of the staff there that, you know, they're either single moms, there might be some single dads, they might have 3 or 4 kids, and maybe we got a lot of folks that are married that are in the restaurant business.
Yeah.
So we got rid of the food. A week goes by and we have to figure out how we're going to do this. And of course, we're communicating throughout the week. But in that whole time, I'm sitting here holding my brand new grandson and I'm going, wow, you know, but here's where the miracle part is because, you know, the stress is there, but yet there's this little baby and my wife and I can sit there and we can focus on that little grandchild. And we met up and we talked and we said, this is what we're going to do. Anybody can put 30 pieces of chicken in a big a big pan.
Sure.
And fry them up and say, well, Jimmy's here. We're going to do pickup for Jimmy. Well, here's 2 pieces of chicken. So my brother says, we're still doing everything made to order. We're going to get the phone call. We're going to get it put it down. And I got to tell you, it worked out wonderfully. The community found out about it. Nobody wanted to see us fail. We did 6 items off the menu. And then we started incorporating wine once the state said we could.
Right.
And I got to tell you, our community came to us, and I had lines out the door.
Wow.
People, okay, so Ken's here for pickup 5:45.
Yeah.
He had chicken marsala and he had ribs. Okay, and he had these 2 salads. Our staff orchestrated it. I had people the staff calling us up going, we need to get out of the house. I said, I can't pay you. We don't want to get paid.
Yeah.
We want to get out of the house. We want to see us succeed.
Yeah.
There wasn't one person on our staff that didn't come and help. And they were heaven sent. It was a miracle.
That's incredible. I mean, that must have been incredibly scary for you as a new owner.
Yeah.
Bought it in 2019, 2020, the biggest challenge to restaurants probably in our state history.
Well, and we always close the month of January.
Yeah.
And that year was no different. So we were open for 46 weeks and we were only sit to dine for 20. And 26 weeks we did takeout. So just as an example, New Year's Eve, the first New Year's Eve that I was home by 10 o'clock, and we had 540 meals go out of our kitchen.
Wow.
And we did the gatherings to go, and we did it.
That's a lot.
Everything we could to make it work.
Yeah.
And but as I said, between our community and our staff, and my brother reminded me that our grandmother, who was Czechoslovakian, these hands aren't broke. Get to work. It's like, yeah.
So coming out of the pandemic, so you found a way to survive. You survived. You kept it going.
Correct.
How has the industry recovered in general? How is it back to where it was pre-COVID?
So pre-COVID, 2020, obviously, that I call it the year without vision. So if it's a play on words, 2020, sure. But 2021 was also coming out of the pandemic. Was the toughest part. Was we typically employ 82 people in the summer, which was no different than this summer. That summer we had 57. And we had some busy. I was busy. Everybody wanted to be out. But they had not lifted everything just yet, which, whatever, I'm not in any part of that. But what really helped was that younger generation, my son, putting lights in the trees outside in the garden. And I said, what in the world are you doing? He said, Dad, we're going to seat outside.
Yeah.
I said, you're out of your mind. He says, we got the artificial turf. We got tables.
Yeah.
We got people. He says, and this is where people want to be. And my wife said, you're a genius. I said, yeah, I thought about it, but I just didn't say anything.
Yeah, I had that idea.
Yeah, but at any rate, and that's how it all started. It was being outside, and the health department, of course, coming through, and they're wanting to make sure. And okay, sounds good. This looks great. Okay, so you follow the rules. We did what we could, but it caught on like wildfire. And that's where people felt safe. They wanted to be outside, and which is great. So we did it, and but we did it with less people, and it was hard. 2021 was tough. More the college kids didn't come back, or maybe some people we lost some staff due to the fact that a lot of people go to college and they do it here at the local level with the LMC, which is wonderful. But instead of doing a 4-year school, they'll do a 5-year school or a 6-year school, and it's more affordable. But what happens, what I'm getting at is, during 2020 and 2021, all those folks, I had 6 or 7 or 8 of them that graduated, and now they're nurses and they're teachers and they're CPAs, and they went on to their career path of what they've chose. So all of a sudden I've lost those people, and it's trying to figure it out. But
yeah. So are you back to full staff now?
Full staff now. So
has it been hard getting people to come back in?
The big part about it is, again, you want to hire the people with heart. You want to hire those people that have the same intentions that you want to have at the end of the day in that hospitality industry. You know, I mean, did I do the best I can with what I have? And I do believe we're at a great spot right now. College kids did go back. We did lose about 14 or 15 of them, but it's a true tribute when they come back year after year.
Yeah.
You know, I've got them all the way in Canada. I got one in Canada. I've got one in California. We've got one in Florida, and to have them repeat to come back and text you. Actually, I just had a text right here from one of them. I hear you on the radio.
Awesome.
So,
that's great. That is great. I want to talk one more thing. We'll do our Moody on the Market update in just a moment. We'll talk about a couple more things. We'll squeeze it in. But there's another challenge for the hospitality industry with having to do with minimum wage and paid sick time. So we'll talk about those things in just a moment on the WSJM Morning Show.
I want to learn how to cook, but I keep ordering takeout.
Accomplishing goals is hard, but when your goal is to learn a new language,
We've got just a moment here before we come back and do the Moody on the Market update, more exclusive content. Tell us about the homemade pasta. Well, no, we only have 30 seconds. I can't ask you that, or 60 seconds. So I can't ask you that yet. Let's do that after the show, or not after the show, but after the Moody on the Market update. What are some things? How many celebrities would you say you've had come through Tosi's that you're aware of?
Every night. Everybody that walks through that
door is a celebrity. You
to
can't
me.
say that. Come on, it's people on the big screen.
The biggest one,
yeah,
Enzo Ferrari.
Really?
Enzo Ferrari was there in '69.
Oh man,
Yeah.
Did he drive a Ferrari that day?
Yes, he did.
Did he really?
He drove Emil Tosi's Ferrari.
Was he delivering it?
No.
Oh
no.
Where is Emil Tosi's Ferrari?
On an auction block not too long ago at the Mikamoto auction.
No kidding.
Yeah.
How much did it go for? I won't tell anybody.
Millions.
I want to see that. Because I love those auctions. That's so much. We'll be right back.
Show with Ken Lundberg on WSJM.
It's time for your Moody on the Market update. Moody on the Market update is brought to you by Insurance Management Service. Call IMS today, your local auto owners insurance agency in St. Joseph and in Niles. And we're talking this morning with a very interesting person, somebody who is part of an institution here in Southwest Michigan, Tosi's Restaurant. It's Dan McCrery, general manager and proprietor. And one of the things we wanted to talk about before we let you go this morning is some of the legislation and court rulings around the tip minimum wage and the paid sick leave. How characterize it from your standpoint, because there's a lot there, but characterize it in a couple of minutes. What is it and what does it mean to you?
Well, a lot of things. The One Fair Wage Act that came into 2018, there was, I can't remember exact amount of how many people that wanted to push this narrative through because they weren't happy. It's hard to explain, but I'll give you from my insight. It started 2018, 2020 happened, and of course the COVID, and then it all started resurfacing around 2022. Well, they amend the bill, they adopt the bill, they push the bill through with the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court said, next February, this is what's happening.
Yep.
This isn't just in the hospitality business. This is everywhere. This is in every business in the state of Michigan. The biggest part about with our challenge is like you said, minimum wage. Nobody in our restaurants that I've talked with, and I've talked with everybody here in our text feed, because trust me, we're coming out with a vengeance, trying to figure out how to change this narrative and get this literature and the language changed on all of these different narratives that are being presented. But it's hard because the servers don't want this, obviously, and I don't want it.
And what it is basically there's a tipped minimum wage for people who are not in that industry. Maybe they don't understand is everyone is guaranteed the minimum wage, and how that is made up is either straight by an hourly rate or an adjusted hourly rate figuring in the tips that you would typically receive.
Correct.
And for hospitality industry, the big thing is that there's a lot of earners who are making much more
Correct.
than the minimum wage because of those tips. Now that is in jeopardy.
Correct. Yeah. So as I mentioned before, we are all artists at what we do.
Yeah.
Okay. My brother can cook a shoe and make it taste good. I can burn you water. I'm an auctioneer by trade. I can be in front of 1,000 people, an auctioneer.
Yeah.
My brother can be in front of 25 people.
Yeah.
You know, you can be on the radio and make it sound so effortlessly and perfect. And I am over here shaking like a leaf.
No, you're great.
But, you know, as I said, we're all artists at what we do.
Yeah.
You know, and the career path that these people take of people say waiting on tables or serving tables, trust me, that is a career.
Mm-hmm.
These men and women that do this for our community, they do this. This is their living. This is their career. You know, I don't want anybody ever talking down about, well, I'm just a server. No.
Yeah.
You're much more than that. I mean, it is just, as I said, with dishwashing, there are so many different intricate details that go into the restaurant business. But the sad part about it is now that we've got past COVID,
Mm-hmm.
and it's taken us about 3 years to really, I mean, we got the wind knocked out of us. We're socked down. We finally got the strategy right. And we got the foot traffic coming through the door. And we finally got the staff that we need. Then all of a sudden we got another sucker punch that comes through with this legislature. I can't even say the word.
Yeah, the legislature. So this legislation, it affects that and the paid time off.
Correct. The paid time off is the other thing. It's, you know, I mean, so a lot of folks that, you know, I mean, own businesses, you know, and I mean, the big industries and even the smaller industries, maybe Carpet Mart or, you know, I'm just saying around here.
Yeah.
Okay. So you get PTO. Well, you know, we really don't deal with PTO. If you're sick, you're sick,
Mm-hmm.
you know, and if you're not making any money. I get it. But these people that work for our industry, they're in it to win it. I mean, they have got to be there to work, you know, I mean, and if they get sick, they get their time off. We do things special for certain things, you know, I mean, there's obviously in every industry, there's got to be some loopholes for the people that, you know, I just had a baby. Okay. Well, in fact, that just happened. We raised some money for the young lady and we've made some meals and yada, yada, yada. She's back to work. Okay.
Unfortunately, we're going to have to conclude this on the radio. We'll continue for a couple of minutes on our video live stream as we get ready for news. But just a final word on this matter. Do you think the legislation, the state legislature will act in time to fix this before February?
The only thing we have on our time, or excuse me, on our side is time. We have got to figure out, and by doing that, we got to flood our legislature with all kinds of emails. You know, Save Michigan Restaurants is one of the things, SaveMichiganRestaurants.com. And there's all kinds of things. If you look it up, it's like I said, this doesn't affect just us. It's going to be a big snowball for the state of Michigan.
Okay. Dan McCrery from Tosi's. Thank you so much for joining us. This has been a really big pleasure.
I can't thank you enough for having me.
No, this has been great. And congratulations on the 85 years of Tosi's, intergenerational. What would you say, fourth, fifth generation?
Well, yeah, fourth, fifth, and sixth. My grandson was out there picking up the garden yesterday.
That is fantastic.
Tuesday, so yeah.
All right. Well, thank you. And thank you for listening to WSJM ABC News.
From ABC News.
All right, let's conclude this interview. We've got to talk about the pasta maker. True or false? The pasta machine you have came from Milan.
It came from Milan, and it's over 100 years old.
So you bought it used?
Yeah, we bought it. It was a used unit.
What does it look like?
The Mayflower.
Oh gosh, what does it look like?
It is a big old machine.
Can I come by and see it next time?
Absolutely.
Next time I'm
I
there?
hope you'll
Okay.
take some pictures. And we've got the big old machine, and then we've got a newer machine. But the big old machine was converted to electric in the 60s.
Okay.
Because it was all hand crank. And I want to tell you, in 2018, my wife was making pasta, and she got her index finger stuck between the two rollers.
Ouch.
She had 22 stitches in the tip of her finger.
Oh my goodness.
But I literally heard her screaming from an acre away.
I bet.
So yeah, that was a nasty day.
So it's been cleaned up and it's still in use.
Yeah,
still
thank
in
you.
use today.
Yeah, no, it was thoroughly cleaned. But now it's kind of funny because my brother, he did pasta for a few years. My wife did pasta for a few years.
Yeah.
My son-in-law's done pasta.
Okay.
And now my daughter, she's had that opportunity now for the last year or so. And
All homemade.
yeah, I got a camera down there, so I'm making sure she's okay down there. Dear Lord.
Favorite dish?
Oh, dear God. I knew you were going to ask me that.
You got to pick your favorite one.
Is there one? I mean, really, I'm a veal lover.
Okay.
The veal scallopini. The Provimi veal that they slap out is just, on dirty word, believable, with the homemade pasta and the mushrooms and the Marcella sauce. It's just the combination of it. I can't get away from. It's just one of my favorites.
Well, thank you for joining us this morning, and thank you for bringing Tosi's into our sphere, because I mean, in Southwest Michigan would not be the same without you.
Well,
Here's to another 85 years.
I appreciate it, and I just want to say thank you. We could not do this without our community.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. So thank you.
All right. Well, thank you, Dan McCrery. Tosi's. If you want more about Tosi's, go to their website. You go to their restaurant. Enjoy. All right. It's the WSJM Morning Show. Thanks for joining us. We're going to turn off the live stream for today. We'll be back tomorrow.
Recruiter, get a quality candidate within the first day.